Ooh. Since we're on the topic of AI, let's have a look at this one.
Let's go for...
This is a talk from a few months ago. Torvalds speaks the future of AI. Something read brain better. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know how it works. I'm not a neurologist. Or a neurologist with an electrical that works with electrical engineers. I don't know. Don't ask me how it works. But yeah, let's have a look at this one. Torvalds speaks future of AI. I watched a little bit of this, but yeah, let's have a look and see.
Let's go for something that's fun and entirely non-controversial. So let's talk a little bit about
yeah, he sort of knew where that was going.
AI and large language models, and I like you. You're as cynical as I am. That's a good sign. That's a good sign. So obviously, this is the current hype kit on the block, and if you want to double your salary, add AI to your title, and
if you want to double the value of your company, add AI to your investor reports.
It's hilarious to watch the self-description of companies, and every company on earth has an AI angle to their story as of...
Are you aware of the AI drive-thrus that a lot of companies are doing? Especially like in the US, where they're replacing the human that's like listening to the drive-through audio with an AI and letting them do the ordering. A lot of people are working out ways that you can circumvent that by ordering just ridiculous things that they can't do, like 100,000 straws. If you order 100,000 straws, you will get put through to a person very quickly.
This year, it is amazing. But what I find so interesting is this idea that...
limited engagement, only big cityscape states like California and New York have them. They shouldn't be anywhere, because they're a mess, but... well, I'm glad you haven't had to deal with them much.
AI is going to be the end of, insert whatever, end of programmers, the end of authors, the end of movie creators, the end of so many jobs. So you are going to be replaced by an AI model.
Finally. Yeah. No, I don't know. I hate the hype.
I think that's a good way to put it. I don't know. Anyone who says they know exactly where this is going to go, don't trust them. Don't trust them, right? Like, we know what it's capable of doing now. We know what companies are trying to do with it. There's been a lot of, like, entry-level, like, marketing jobs getting replaced, for example. There's been a lot of, like, entry-level programming jobs they've tried to replace. Hasn't gone as well. I think the only thing we can say is there's definitely going to be attempts at replacing entire fields. Whether that ends up happening long-term is... I think is really going to depend on what is actually possible with improvements to these algorithms. Because we're going to run out of data to collect and violate everyone's trademarks. So it's a matter of handling that data in a better way. And I don't know where we're going to be, not even like a year from now, let alone just 3 months from now.
At the same time, I think AI is very interesting. When I went to university, we were still talking about rule-based expert systems and Bayesian logic and all of this.
I did the same thing.
And it was called AI, but it was not in any way intelligent.
Right.
And I do think that the last few years have been interesting.
Today's.
Like categorization tools.
But...
like Google Images functions.
I don't want to be part of the hype. Yeah. And I will say that the AI revolution has had, even on the kernel level, a few positives. Mm-hmm. For example, a company like NVIDIA, who is not exactly famous for being great at interacting with the kernel community.
That's a very pleasant and business way to put it. Holy shit, that's a very nice way of saying that. Let me just you know exactly where we're going with this.
It's like, what's your comment on this, that kind of situation? So I would say
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm very happy to say that it's the exception rather than the rule. And I'm also happy to very publicly point out that NVIDIA has been one of the worst trouble spot we've had with hardware manufacturers. And that is really sad, because NVIDIA tries to sell chips, a lot of chips, into the Android market. And NVIDIA has been the single worst company we've ever dealt with. So NVIDIA, you.
Oh, it's censored! Oh, fuck you. Fuck you, random YouTuber. After someone else takes over, we're getting Linux Copilot. Look, you already have that through VS Code.
Has actually been much more active and been involved in the Linux memory management code, because suddenly they start caring about Linux when they are selling a lot of AR hardware. I mean, it used to be crypto, and it's still obviously GPUs, and it's being used in big servers.
I would be very surprised if there's not a GPT plugin for Vim. I don't know of one, but I'd be surprised if there wasn't one.
And running Linux. So it has actually had a positive impact, but my personal opinion is let's wait 10 years and see where it actually goes before we...
Well, there's also someone in the Linux CNA team who uses LLMs for evaluating security issues. He's not the only one who is in the team, but different members of the team use different approaches. Someone has a test suite, someone has LLM, someone does things by hand, and they vote on what is actually like a real security issue in the kernel.
You make all these crazy announcements of your job will be gone in 5 years.
Well, I think we already see lasting and almost irreversible change happening through many of these AI tools, not on the hype Gen AI front, but just in the tools that make our lives better and easier. I keep calling it autocorrect on steroids, and people are mad at me. But if you use a Gen AI and hopefully an SLM tool to help you with basically code completion in your editor, isn't that a huge...
I do think there's some value in more contextual code completion in software development. Not like full generating code, but in ordering the results it provides you based on the context of the code that it currently exists. I think there might be some value there that should be explored.
So I'm actually, I'm one of those people who are very optimistic about AI, and I'm looking forward to the tools to actually find bugs. We have a lot of tooling around the kernel and around any software project, obviously. And we use them religiously, but making the tools smarter is not a bad thing. And I, to some degree, compare it to writing things in assembly, which literally I started doing with the initial kernel was, I think, about 50% assembly language, and using a compiler. And using smarter tools is just the next inevitable step. So that's going to happen, but I don't think it's necessarily the gloom and doom that some people say it is, and I definitely don't think it's the promised world that the people who are having their hand out for cash say it is. So
I think what we have right now is very similar to the very similar to the dot-com bubble, where before the dot-com bubble happened, you had everything that was becoming a web thing, a dot-com thing, right? Where, you know, you would have there were apparently city names that people were proposing with .com in the name, just for no reason. And then there are companies that came out of .com, right? Like Amazon, right? Amazon was around before the .com bubble and after the .com bubble. They lost 90% of their value because even Amazon, which is a legitimate company that has a real value, even they were way overvalued for what Amazon was at the time. And I think that's sort of where we are with AI, where it's very much a bubble and everyone's trying to, like, you see the Rabbit R1 that Marcus Brownlee did a video on ages back, where it was just a phone with an app. Like, that's all. It was bullshit. But it was getting so much funding. And I think that's what we're gonna have to have happen. We're gonna have to see a lot of companies just disappear. A lot of companies that have now massively overvalued just plummet in value. And I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's definitely going to happen. I don't see any world where the hype that we have right now consistently stays. I think that's one thing we can be pretty sure on. There is going to be a pop of this bubble. When it happens, I don't know. Is it going to be a giant pop like the .com bubble? Maybe, maybe not. But it's definitely gonna deflate at least a bit. I would assume a lot, but it's definitely gonna have to deflate.
You need to be a bit cynical about this whole hype.
I don't think it's that big of a bubble. We're getting new results this time. Yes, you are, like, the core tech is improving, but there's also a lot of companies, like, as I said, like Rabbit R1, where they're just meme companies, right? Like, there's no value in the company actually existing. I do think a lot of that investor interest is going to have to dry up.
Cycle in the tech industry. I hope you all realize that. Before AI, it was crypto. Before crypto, it was whatever. It's
cloud native.
Cloud native.
There's a loud voice in the front. That's not hype. Okay.
I mean, the hype, there's always like a grain of reality behind it. But
I fucking love cloud native. Cloud native is such a good one because the cloud native guys get so annoyed when you talk about how cloud native isn't the future of everything. Basically, the idea is just containers. That's all cloud native means. It's just containers. Containers for everything.
To be careful about all the BS around that grain.
You can't say BS. So the beautiful science.
Okay, maybe that's why Torvalds is being nice here. They've probably given him a list of words he's not allowed to say.
This is what he meant.
Yes.
I look at these tools and I look at, you said assembler, and then we talk about compilers, then we talk about things like Sparse, a compiler that tries to find certain kinds of bugs. We talk about Julia to do code refactoring. We have had, for the last 30 plus years, a sequence of tools that helped make development better and more robust. And in that lineage of...
in fact, Metaverse is not dead because Facebook continues to make glasses for the next privacy dystopia. The Hyper-M metaverse is definitely... Well, the thing is, the Hyper-M metaverse was, like, never real anyway. It was entirely fabricated by the companies. No users actually cared about metaverse, as could be seen by the fact that when Facebook shipped their metaverse, there was, like, 5 users. What people do care about, and if we want to talk about metaverse actually being a real thing, Fortnite and Roblox. Those are the, like, real, actual metaverses that... a lot of people consume and a lot of people enjoy. Like, there are people that go to concerts in Fortnite, which is baffling to me. Like, even if they drop the term, they still effectively are that, right? Like, the term metaverse is just means MMO. That's literally what the term metaverse means. It's marketing bullshit MMO.
Things. I hope there is really cool stuff coming down.
Yeah, I mean, we have tools that do kernel rewriting with very complicated scripts and patterns.
Well, Roblox has a lot of problems, like child labor.
That is actually literally why I think AI can be a huge help, because some of these tools are very hard to use because you have to
they also have that problem.
specify things at a low enough level that the natural reaction would be to, hey, can we make this a bit easier and automate more of it?
Does Zuckerberg have a soul? Nobody does have smoked meats.
So yes,
One of the interesting angles that this whole large language model and the training data brings up is the role that data plays in our modern world, where we all talk about open source, about the source code, the algorithms being available.
I just noticed Linus has a horrendous posture. This is what Linus has. This is the decades upon decades of programmer posture. I mean, it's not that bad. It's like this.
But open data really is kind of almost the
Smoked
more
meats, a glass of water, and lots of
question.
sunscreen.
no, it's not. Well, I mean,
I forgot about the
it's
sunscreen.
Not to me, and
I want to hear that again. What was
Really
that?
is kind of almost the more interesting question.
no, it's not. Well, I mean,
Wait, hold on.
And the training data brings up is the role that data plays in our modern world, where we all talk about open source, about the source code, the algorithms being available, but open data really is kind of almost the more interesting question.
no, it's not. Well, I mean, it's not to me, and actually, I'd like to clarify that, I mean, the LF obviously has open data projects, and to other people it's more interesting. And that is, I think, for me, the point of open source is that different people are interested in different things.
Sure.
And I was always interested in the low-level nitty-gritty of how the CPU actually works, which is why I'm working on the kernel still. But yes, you're right that in many situations, what is important is the data that you then use to generate find patterns and generate new interesting information with. But to me, that's not what I tend to do. And
Yeah, there is that saying, beautiful science in, beautiful science out. Please translate. You talk about the things that you love doing, and I want to point out it's been more than a decade since you started a project, and the world is kind of getting a little
Wait, look at Linus's face when he says that.
So you talk about the things that you love doing, and I want to point out it's been more than a decade since you started a project, and the world is kind of...
Like, you see his life flash before his eyes when he says that. It's been more than a decade since you started a project. Like, oh my god, am I that old?
getting a little antsy. So where is the next Linus Torvalds project?
oh no, I hope it never happens. And I say that because every single project I've started has always started from me being frustrated with other people being incompetent.
Fair? Fair?
Or money grubbing, right? So the reason I started doing Linux was that I couldn't afford the real thing, right? And I said, how hard can it be? And it turns out it can be pretty hard, because here I am 33 years later and still working on it. But I made the same mistake then, it's 20 years ago, when I said, hey, I really don't think source control management is very interesting. And all these people before me, they clearly gotten it completely wrong. So I need to do my own. How hard can it be? And I'm actually hoping to never be in that situation again, that there will be somebody else who comes and solves my problems. And I have to say, I don't have any huge problems. Linux, for me, solved all the problems I had way back in 92, maybe 93. If it wasn't for the fact that others came around...
What do I think about Common Lisp? I don't think I've thought about Common Lisp in ever. That's what I think about it.
Said, hey, I need this, I would not have continued. So while my projects start with something that I need, the things that actually keep them going, and then the fact that, hey, this is actually useful to other people, because if it's only something for me, it's not really interesting in the long run.
Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, we're out of time. I had a lot more fun questions. I guess I will have to ask you those in Hong Kong. But for Seattle, thanks everyone. I hope this was fun.
Basically, what Linus said there is, AI is probably gonna do things. I don't know what it's gonna do, but it's gonna do things. That's pretty much the takeaway from that entire video. When am I gonna play GNU Jump? What in the world is GNU Jump? What is this? How has no one told me about this game? I have done so many videos on, like, Linux games, and not a single person has ever mentioned this one exists. It was last updated 12 years ago. Maybe I'll do something with it. I don't know. I don't think there's like enough for like an entire video. To be honest, I think Linus only interested in low-level stuff. Even nerds of subjects don't care. Yeah, that's fair, right? Like, Linus knows that there's no shot that his position is going to be replaced, and it doesn't, like, that's the thing. So, also, even if it was replaced, like, that just means he can retire finally. Like, I don't think he's like that concerned with it ultimately.